Was the newborn death indeed due to the massive negligence and failures of the midwives in the Royal Lancaster Infirmary? Ida Locke entered the world on a day like any other, bringing with her the promise of new beginnings. She was born on November 2nd, 2019 at the Royal Lancaster Infirmary and was an absolute hope and joy for her parents. Yet their elation was tragically short-lived. Just 7 days later, Ida was gone, her life cruelly extinguished by a series of catastrophic errors during her delivery. Ida's parents were devastated. They had entrusted their precious daughter to the care of medical professionals, believing she would be in safe hands. Instead, they were left grappling with the unimaginable pain of losing a child. Their grief compounded by the knowledge that her death was entirely preventable. The very people who were meant to protect Ida had failed her in the most profound way imaginable. The news of Ida's death sent shockwaves through the community. How could a seemingly routine birth have ended in such a horrific tragedy? As the details of her death emerged, it became agonizingly clear that Ida's case was not simply a case of unforeseen complications, but a clear instance of medical negligence. The midwives tasked with caring for Ida during her delivery had made a series of grave errors, ultimately robbing her of her life and her parents of their future. A parent's nightmare, navigating grief and injustice. The death of a child is a pain unlike any other, a heartache that reverberates through every aspect of life. For Ida's parents, the grief was all-consuming, a relentless tide that threatened to drown them in sorrow and despair. Amidst the overwhelming grief, a burning question ignited within them. How could this have happened? Driven by an unyielding need for answers, Ida's parents embarked on a heart-wrenching quest for truth and justice. Little did they know that their journey would expose a deeply troubling reality within the hospital walls. It was a reality marked by systemic failures and a shocking lack of accountability. The pain of losing Ida was magnified tenfold by the conflicting information they received from the hospital. Ida's parents refused to accept this blatant disregard for the truth, knowing that they had to fight for justice. Their unwavering pursuit of justice was fueled by a deep love for their daughter and a fierce determination to ensure that no other family would have to endure a similar tragedy. Inexcusable errors, unraveling the midwife's negligence. At the heart of this tragedy lay a series of inexcusable errors by the midwives. These were not minor oversights, but fundamental failures in basic medical care. The errors, compounded by a culture of complacency, created a perfect storm leading to Ida's untimely demise. One of the most egregious errors was failing to recognize a dangerously slow fetal heart rate, a clear indicator of fetal distress. This crucial warning sign was tragically ignored, depriving Ida of the urgent medical intervention she needed. Had the midwives acted promptly, Ida's life could have been saved. The lack of prompt action was a fatal error. Adding to the errors was the incompetent manner in which neonatal resuscitation was performed. The lead midwife displayed a staggering lack of skill and composure, deemed wholly incompetent by the coroner. These failures were symptomatic of a wider culture of complacency and disregard for medical protocols. The midwives had become complacent, failing to recognize the need for vigilance in every birth. This attitude, coupled with a lack of urgency, created an environment ripe for tragedy, leading to the heartbreaking loss of Ida. Missed opportunities. 8 critical junctures ignored. These were not just minor oversights, but significant moments that could have changed everything. The coroner identified 8 missed opportunities to alter the course of Ida's care. Each one was a chance to intervene, a chance to save a life. Each missed opportunity represented a potential turning point, a chance to prevent the tragedy that unfolded. These were critical junctures that demanded immediate and effective responses. One such missed opportunity occurred when Ida's heart rate first began to slow. This was an early warning sign that should have set off alarms. Recognizing the sign could have prompted an emergency cesarean section, potentially saving Ida's life. Instead, the midwives dismissed the slowing heart rate as insignificant. Their lack of response was a critical error. Another critical juncture was missed during the resuscitation attempt. The response was inadequate. The lead midwife's incompetence was compounded by a lack of support and urgency from the rest of the team. Precious minutes were wasted as they fumbled through the resuscitation. The delay was costly. Each missed opportunity added another layer of pain and frustration for Ida's parents. It was a constant reminder that their daughter's death was not an inevitability, but the result of a series of failures. The coroner's report highlighted the systemic issues and individual failings that led to this tragedy. It painted a picture of a maternity unit plagued by incompetence and complacency. For Ida's parents, it was a validation of their worst fears, confirming that their daughter's death was preventable. In the midst of the unfolding crisis, the hospital's actions raised more questions than answers. They seemed unprepared for the scale of the emergency, and their communication with the public was well less than transparent. Many felt left in the dark, unsure of what was happening or what to do next. The lack of clear guidance only added to the growing sense of unease. It was a troubling response, to say the least. The coroner's report finally arrived, shedding light on the circumstances surrounding the tragic event. It was a moment of revelation, yet also one of profound sorrow. The findings were clear and precise, leaving no room for doubt. The investigation had been thorough, and the conclusions drawn were based on solid evidence. But as the community absorbed the information, the weight of the loss felt heavier than ever. This wasn't the first time the community had faced such heartache. Past tragedies echoed in the minds of many, a stark reminder of the fragility of life. Each incident, though unique, shared a common thread of grief and loss. It was a painful reminder that history, if not learned from, has a way of repeating itself. The collective memory of the community held these echoes, shaping their response to the present sorrow. In the wake of the coroner's verdict, voices began to rise demanding accountability and change. The community rallied together, unified in their call for justice. They sought not only answers but also action to prevent such a tragedy from occurring again. It was a powerful movement driven by a shared desire for a safer, more compassionate future. The demand for change was clear, and the resolve was unshakable. To truly honor her memory, the community knew they had to act. It wasn't enough to mourn, they had to make a difference. Initiatives were launched aimed at addressing the root causes of the tragedy. Educational programs, support networks, and advocacy groups sprang into action. Each step taken was a tribute to her life and a promise to protect others from similar fate. Her legacy became a beacon of hope and a catalyst for meaningful change.